Well, hello everybody at home, and welcome to your lesson for Thursday, which is graphing a parabola using the TI-84. So today I'm going to show you how to use the TI-84 classroom calculator to graph a parabola and find the equation of a quadratic function. Now, I know that you're probably saying, I don't have this calculator at home, or maybe you do have one at home, and you're wondering, how are you going to do this? Well, if you look here on your Chromebook, if you follow with me and click on the launcher button right here so you can see your entire shelf, what you need to look for is this app right here called the TI-84 Plus CE app for Chrome OS. Okay, that's what you're going to be using. So if you click on this, what you see is a graphing calculator that looks just like the one you have in the classroom. Okay, so what I would like for you to do is take a moment and pause this video and just familiarize yourself with where the buttons are on this calculator. Okay, now that you've taken a moment to look at the calculator, you'll notice everything is just the same as a classroom calculator. So as always, the first thing that we want to do is do our memory clear procedure. So all of the previous memory is out of the calculator. So you press your second function key right up here, and then the plus key, and then you're going to type the 7, the 1, and the 2. Okay, and that clears your memory so your calculator is ready to go. Okay, so what you need to do then is pop open this PDF right here and also open the assignment down here. And we're going to go ahead and get started with learning how to graph a parabola on your TI-84 calculator and also find the quadratic equation. Okay. So if you look here at your first example, okay, you'll notice here that it says to match the appropriate graph to the left and table to the right. Okay, so you'll notice in the first example that there is a table of values. So what we're going to do then is, if you look here at your instructions for graphing a parabola using the TI-84, we already did the memory clear procedure. So the first step is to go to the Stat menu, and then we're going to use the Edit function. Okay, so on your calculator, Stat is right here. Okay, so you're going to press Stat, and then Edit is already highlighted, so you can just hit the Enter key. And then you get a screen here with all these different L1, L2, L3, L4, L5, and so on. These are different lists, but these lists are what you're going to use to create your table of values inside the TI-84. So in list 1, you're simply going to take all of the values in the X column and type them into list 1. So when you put in a negative number, you must use the negative function key right here to put in a negative number. Do not use the minus key, because if you use the minus key, you're going to get an error. So use that negative value key, put the number in, and then press enter. Then -1, enter. And then for these other numbers, you can use your computer keyboard if you like, since they're positive, and type 0, enter, 1, enter, 2, enter. Okay, I did all of those with my computer keyboard. Now, to arrow between the columns, you can either use the arrow keys on your computer keyboard, and you'll notice when I do that, how it lights up the functions on the cursor pad over there, or you can use your mouse and then just simply click on the cursor pad. It's your choice, whichever one you want to do. Now, again, since these values are all positive, I can type these in using my computer keyboard for efficiency's sake. So here's 4, enter, 1, enter, 0, enter, 1, enter, 4, enter. Okay? So what I have typed in my calculator should be a mirror image of the table that I have right over here. Okay? So if I go back to my instructions, I did step number 1, which was the Stat Edit menu, and then I did the X values in list 1 and my Y values in list number 2. Okay? Now, step number 2 is to go back to the Stat menu, and then we're going to use the Calc submenu. Okay? So let's bring up our calculator. And we're going to go back to stat. Now for calc, you need to use this key here, and that gives you the calc function. Okay? Then to get to number 5, which is the quadratic regression. Okay? That's our next step here. Go to stat calc and then quadratic regression, the 5th option. Okay? You're going to either use your computer arrow keys to arrow down to the 5, or you can just simply click on the cursor key. Again, you notice that each time I click using my keyboard, it lights up red. Okay? So you've got the quadratic EQ 5th option. Okay? Now, the next thing that you do is you're going to come down here and hit enter. Okay? So now you come to this menu here. And again, it says to arrow down to store EQ. So again, I'm using my computer keyboard. I just arrowed down to store EQ, right like that. Now, the next step, it says go to vars and yvars. So your vars key is right here. So here is your down arrow key. Right here is the vars key. So you're going to press the vars. Then you can arrow over using your computer keyboard to yvars. Okay? Then vars, yvars. The next step says to enter 4 times. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4. So notice here, step 5 says the equation appears. So I've got y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And then it tells you your a value is 1, your b value is 0, and your c value is 0 as well. Okay, so let's look at what that means real quick. So I have here y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So we said that the a value was 1. So 1 times anything is itself. So 1 times x squared is simply x squared. And then b and c were both 0. So your equation for this quadratic function is y equals x squared. Okay? So what I'm going to do then is come over here. And then in the equation text box underneath, I'll type y, which I know that's a little, let me see if I can make that just a tad bit larger. All right, so y equals, and then you can just put x. You can use the caret key to show the exponent and then type a 2, okay? That's one option, y equals x squared. Or you could come up here to text format and then make a superscript, and that should give you, no, it didn't give me the exponent there. All right, it should give you the exponent, but we'll just go ahead and do this for now, okay? So y equals x squared, okay? Now, to find out which graph goes with this particular table, okay? To find out which graph goes with the table, if you notice your steps here, it says the equation appears, press graph, okay? So the graph button is right here. Okay, so right above your keypad where you can select your arrows, right here is the graph button. So you click on graph and look what it did. It created a parabola. Okay, so now you just go to your assignment and you find the parabola that you just graphed and drag it right over there just like that. Okay? So that's how you do the first one. Now, the next thing you do, because we're going to do a few more of these, in fact, you're going to do a lot more of these, is you go back and you run all these steps again. So the first thing you're going to do is do the memory clear procedure, okay? And the reason you do that is so you can clear out all the data you just put in. So second function key plus, and then 7, 1, 2. Okay? And then you can hit enter when you're done or clear, and it will give you the clean screen again. Okay? So let's go over here and let's do the second table. Okay? So if you've got your steps out that you can reference, let's go ahead and run through the steps for our second table. So I'm going to start with the stat, and then it's already got edit highlighted, so you can just hit your enter key. And I'm going to type in all of the x values in list 1. So again, I use the negative symbol down here for -1, enter. And then I can just use 1, 2, and 3 and type those right using my computer keyboard because they are not negative numbers. And then I've got 3, 4, 3, 0. And then for -5, again, use your negative key down here, that negative symbol, and then 5. Okay? So there's your stat edit. So there's your first step with the 2 substeps. So stat calc quadratic regression. Okay? So then we go to stat. You can arrow over to calc using your keyboard and use your keyboard arrow keys if you would like to come down to quadratic regression. Then we hit enter. Then you can just arrow down using your keyboard again to store EQ. Okay. And then when you get to the store EQ, that's when I come up here and press the VARS, V-A-R-S button. So VARS. Then arrow over to YVARS. So VARS, YVARS. Then my next step is enter 4 times, and I'm going to watch the equation appear. So I've got y equals 8x squared plus bx plus c, where a is -1 and c is 4. So here's what that means. Okay, so since my equation was a -1, that means this time I have a -x squared. There is no b value because b is 0, so c is going to be 4. So -x squared plus 4. Okay, so same thing. I'd come down here to my text box. Y equals -x squared plus 4. All right, then my final step is after the equation appears is to press the graph button. So right here is the graph button, right up here in the upper right-hand side. So I click on graph, and that's what my parabola looks like. And that should make sense because it is a negative parabola, and negative parabolas open downward because they are not happy. Okay? So there's that one. All right, so let's do one more example, and then you'll need to do the other 3 slides plus the remaining example on this slide yourself. And this is one of those things that just takes practice for you to do it, okay? So what you're doing on this calculator, it would work the same way on your classroom calculator. So again, starting from the beginning, we're going to do the memory clear procedure, okay? So we'll do our second function key, and then the plus key, and then we're going to do 7, 1, 2. And you should see RAM cleared, and you press the enter button. Okay. So here we go, the next table. All right, so the first step is stat edit. So stat edit menu is highlighted, so I press enter. Now, everything in my X column is going to be list 1. So again, since I have negative numbers, you need to use your negative key down here. So -3, enter, -2, enter, -1, enter, 0, enter, and 1. Okay. And then I've got -3 again. So -3, enter, -4, enter, -3, enter, and then 0, enter, and 5. Okay? So again, what you see in that table, you should see the same thing on your calculator. Okay? So that's steps 1A and B. So stat, calc, and then quadratic regression. So we'll go to, again, the stat key, and then arrow over to calc, arrow down to quadratic regression, click enter. We get to this menu here, and then we arrow down to store EQ, then the vars key, which is right below your pad here. So vars, arrow over to yvars, then we do our enter 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I get A is 1 and B is 4 and C is 0. Okay? So what that would mean then is all right, so we had here my A value was 1 and my B value was 4. So y equals, again, x squared plus 4x. Okay? And there's no C value. All right? And then all there is to do is to graph it. So you press the graph button, and it looks like that. And that should make sense to you because there's no y-intercept. So it's going through your origin, and that should make perfect sense to you with what you already know about a parabola. Okay? So you'll need to do D on this first slide and then finish slides 2, 3, and 4. Okay? So the Google Meet hours are during our normal class time. So if you're watching this after our normal class time from 8:15 to 9:15, come up Friday morning if you're having some problems, and I can help you with it then. And that would be best, okay, if you're not watching this during normal class time. So all you need to do is complete this assignment. And then, as you know, since it's set up as this kind of a embed, you just need to click present, which on student view, you do have that little present button there. All right, so email me if you have a question outside of the normal classroom time. And if you need me outside of classroom time, I can try and help you during planning time, but I need for you to email me ahead of time, and I need for you to come up during that time if that's when we're going to do our work, okay? All right, so here's the link for the announcements if you want to watch the announcements for the day. Have a great day, and I look forward to seeing all of you when we can all be back together in school again.